Hola, my little loves. It is freezing cold and it is like 4 o'clock in the morning, but I decided to do a video and I wanted to talk about a really important topic. And this topic I think is really important to talk about. And the risk of going off on a tangent, I might link my video, the difference between mental health and mental illness, because I think that's a really important distinction to make. But I hear this a lot from people, and I was talking to my sister yesterday and she was sort of talking about this, and I think it's a common complaint with antidepressants. And I want to talk about this idea that antidepressants, a lot of people say, like, oh, I just couldn't feel on them. I couldn't feel on antidepressants. And my sister took antidepressants for kind of like a bout of depression and anxiety. And I think the difference between me and particularly my sister and my father is they have had depression and anxiety issues, but most of that is like situational. And by that, I mean they can handle it without medication. They don't have bipolar disorder. They don't have, I guess, not belittling their struggle in any way, but they don't have these overarching, what I would call severe chronic mental illnesses. If you really do compare it to physical health, and I think we really should, you'll see like in physical health, everyone can get a cold from, now and again. Everyone can get, like even a severe illness, like severe depression, it could last a certain amount of time. But not everyone is going to have something like diabetes, which is really comparable to bipolar disorder, which is your body's inability to regulate change in your brain, just as, diabetics can't regulate insulin. So, that being said, my sister's been on antidepressants for a couple of years and she's since gone off them, under the advice of her doctor and supervision and all that sort of thing. And she was saying, like, it's so great, she can feel again. She was kind of just really, like, I think she's just kind of a bit flat, a bit, like, emotionless. And it's really kind of funny when people say, like, I can't feel, because she was asking me if I had that same problem. And I'm kind of like, I don't understand the problem about it. I mean, not being able to feel is the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, I was in such a world of pain. Like, I was in so much pain. Just every single day of my life was just excruciatingly painful. I couldn't live anymore because my pain was so intense. And like, I think if you're in that amount of pain, being on an antidepressant that numbs that pain, regardless of how it does it, it's great. People talk to me about side effects and I'm like, all I know is I feel better. And people say, yeah, like you can't feel the bad stuff, which is great, but you can't feel the good stuff. And I'm kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about because I feel good. And I guess there's a couple of explanations for that because I was really thinking about this. And one is that I've never felt good a day in my life. So I actually don't know what good feels like. If you have been depressed and mentally ill your entire life, your normal is excruciatingly painful. Like, to not feel is like my definition of good. And I know they talk about bipolar and a lot of mood disorders that really affect the intensity of your emotions, particularly borderline as well, and a bunch of different things. And it's like, my doctors keep saying to me, like, you wouldn't even know what a normal emotional range is if it hit you in the face. Like, part of a mood stabilizer is like, instead of feeling these like manic euphoric highs and these like depression, which I don't have enough screen to put the vast like difference of what these emotions really are like for me, is kind of sandwiching them. So you're bouncing between these like two rather than out here. So I don't know. I just wanted to put my thoughts on that and see what you guys think about that. I think if you're complaining that you can't feel on antidepressants, you probably don't need them. Like, I'm not a doctor, and obviously any medication you need to speak to your doctors about, but I don't know. I medicate because, like, I can't. live without them. I can't deal without them. And it's not through lack of trying. It's not like, oh, I just don't try hard enough to deal with my shit, so I use medication as a safety blanket. Like, no. And there are real physical symptoms. Like, one of the medications I use for my anxiety and, you know, childhood trauma and everything that makes the world a terrifying place for me is a beta blocker. That doesn't affect my brain. That lowers my heart rate because my resting heart rate is 135 beats per minute. It should be like 80. So people who say, you know, mental illness isn't real, psychological trauma, emotional trauma, and, you know, anxiety isn't real. I'm running a marathon every day. My body physically is worn out, and I'm going to suffer exhaustion as a result. I'm going to suffer a lot of other physical issues because my heart is beating so fast. So I need to medicate that to get my heart rate down. No amount of therapy can actually deal with that. And I don't think people understand what it's like when you're at a level of anxiety up here constantly, 24 hours a day. Then anything that makes you anxious goes on top of that. Whereas on my heart medication, my anxiety or my heart rate's down here. So my baseline of anxiety is lower. So then anything that makes me anxious builds on top of that. It's not building on what's on top of here. But I mean, antidepressants saved my life. And yeah, I've been on a hell of a lot of antidepressants. And SSRIs just didn't agree with me. And Zoloft is pretty much the only one that actually really helped me. Because it's kind of like a magical drug for me in the sense that it deals with my anxiety. It deals with my PTSD kind of borderline stuff. It's also a treatment for PMDD, my premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And it's sort of on top of my mood stabilizers for bipolar disorder. It really was like that missing piece of the puzzle. A small dose of that really helped with every other aspect of my life. And all I know is that I can function. And I am willing to sacrifice a level of feeling. I mean, who wouldn't sacrifice feeling like you're being murdered every second of every day? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say that I don't feel good. Because to me, a lack of emotion is like feeling good. I wouldn't say I've ever experienced positive emotions in my life. It's like really all been negative. And maybe that's because I haven't had a lot of positive. Maybe that's because the negative is so bad. They're so intense that I know how to like recognize them. Because I am crushed by them. I drown in them. I am like suffocated by them. So I'd like to know other people's experiences. You know, don't be that asshole that goes on a rant about like, don't medicate. Just don't do it. You know, I'm all about like pro-choice in the sense of people can choose what they want to do with their lives. And if you've made an informed decision to take medication like I have, I guarantee I have trialed and errored, then I think that's fine. I think if you've been on antidepressants and it didn't work for you, that doesn't mean it's not going to work for someone else. There's no shame in it. Just because you go on an antidepressant like my sister doesn't mean that you are going to be on it for the rest of your life. But just because some people don't have to be on it for the rest of their life doesn't mean that some of us won't have to be on medication for the rest of our life. So I'm going to link that video about the difference between mental health and mental illness. And I think we should all check that out. Mental health is really important to everyone, but it's important to remember that not everyone suffers a mental illness. And even if you have been diagnosed with some form of mental illness, it's not necessarily going to be chronic. And, you know, I think that's where the most stigma comes from, is people who are like, I suffered depression and look at me, I'm doing fine. And it's like, yeah, but like, don't compare your depression to my bipolar disorder. Even though it has periods of depression, it's a completely different cause. It's not just that I have poor mental health, therefore I develop depression. It's like, depression is my baseline. And yeah, having good mental health will assist in that. But I think as a general rule, just stop judging people. Seriously? Just don't be that dick. So that's my morning rant. This morning, I'm gonna try and upload some more videos. Working on my raps lately. I'm so filled with anxiety about them, but I'm gonna get them done. Because you guys asked for it, and I am a woman of the people. So, I love y'all. My art looks so good on that wall. I'm just saying. Anyway, it's so early in the morning. My brain's not functioning, but it's functioning. It's just not functioning in a way that society would accept. So, I'm ranting now. Auf Wiedersehen. I love you all. I can speak German, by the way. Did you guys know that? I don't know if you knew that. Anyway.